So Ro Khanna decided to have an appearance here on CNN, and Ro Khanna decided to lie about who owns CNN and corporate money. Let's go ahead and dive right in. Again, I can't make this up. He made it too easy.
That kind of reflection.
Well, let's talk about one of those social media companies. Over the weekend, in response to something that Secretary Hillary Clinton tweeted, Elon Musk tweeted a link to some baseless report about, and here it is, about a relationship potentially or something about Paul Pelosi. He later deleted it, but what does this episode tell us about how he likely intends to manage this platform? What do you take away from this episode?
Well, I hope what Elon Musk will do is create an independent governance structure for Twitter. I agree that we need to remove the many bots on Twitter. That actually is a problem in the conversation. But beyond that, just like CNN doesn't have corporate owners making decisions of who can come on your news program, and just like the Washington Post isn't run by Jeff Bezos, we need to make sure that Twitter isn't run by the corporate owner, but has independent governance boards and principles.
Okay, wait a minute. So there's two things there that he said that he needs to backtrack on. Let's address the corporate money issue first, and then we'll come back to the other issue.
Independent governance structure for Twitter. I agree that we need to remove the many bots on Twitter. That actually is a problem in the conversation. But beyond that, just like CNN doesn't have corporate owners making decisions of who can come on your news program, and just like...
Is that true? I beg to differ. We'll get back to the rest of it in just a second. I want to show you something. CNN doesn't have corporate owners that make decisions about who can come onto the news program. Really? Is that why you see so many socialists and Marxists on CNN? Because last time I checked, you don't see them. Is that why? What are the voices? Who do you hear on CNN? They bring on liberals. They bring on liberals. Anytime they brought on someone that was from Bernie Sanders' campaign, it was to attack them. It was to criticize them. And I never have seen anyone further to the left than that on CNN. So you would never see me on there. You know what I mean? Like if I came on there and I said, capitalism sucks, and this is what happens when you live in a capitalist society, and I told them that people should embrace social. If I came on there and said that, do you think they would let me stay on CNN? Absolutely not. Even someone like Bernie Sanders could go on CNN and say that, talk about corporate greed and wealth. But even Bernie Sanders wouldn't address the capitalism issue. He wouldn't make the connection to capitalism. You see what I'm saying? He wouldn't make that connection. Even Bernie Sanders wouldn't go on to CNN and say, yeah, the workers need to own the means of production. And if he would, he wouldn't be on there. So let's see who owns CNN, because I think, Ro Khanna, I don't know if he was sleepy that morning or what, but this is public information. Here we go. Who owns CNN? CNN is owned by Warner Brothers Discovery Incorporated. Bought to you by Warner Brothers Discovery. Okay? Now, this is the problem. Most people will search for this answer and they'll stop here and they won't go any further. It's important that you take the next step. You need to see who their shareholders are. So let's take a look at that. Let's go down. Okay, and this is where a lot of the trouble comes in. Top 10 owners of Warner Brothers Discovery, Inc. The Vanguard Group. Does that sound important to you guys? And look who's right below them. BlackRock Fund Advisors. These two shareholders here are incredibly problematic, and I'm going to tell you why. These are the same companies here that buy up real estate, that buy up foreclosed homes, that are buying up residential properties and selling them for enormous rates. They're just as complicit with gentrification as the rich person moving into the poor neighborhood. They do it too. They're buying people out. They are creating a renter society. This is why we don't have some of these homes, right? So when they say, oh, well, we don't have we have a large demand, but we don't have the supply. Who bought the supply? A lot of times it's company like them, Vanguard and BlackRock, buying the supply. That's why you don't have it. Because you can always build more homes. You guys see what's happening here? So these two are incredibly problematic. Don't forget those. Keep your eye on those two. SSGA Funds Management, Geode Capital Management, Newport Trust, Hotchkiss and Wiley Capital Management, Northern Trust Investments, Sessa Capital, Dimensional Fund Advisors, and Charles Schwab Investment Management. You see that what? Go to mutual funds. Now that's just the top 10 owners, okay? That's just the top 10 owners. So you mean to tell me that Vanguard, BlackRock, and Charles Schwab have no say so about the content and the people who come on to CNN? They have no say so about the narrative? If that's the case, why aren't they bringing on people like Chris Hedges? Why aren't they bringing on people like Chris Hedges to talk about the war in Ukraine? If that's the case, let me know. Exactly. Why aren't they bringing Glenn Greenwald on there? Why don't they bring on the anti-war voices? Why don't you see them have on Max Blumenthal? Why don't you see them have on Aaron? Why don't they have Gray Zone on there? Why not? If they don't control anything and they're not controlling the narrative, you never see them on, right? Okay. Look who is also the top mutual funds holding for Warner Brothers Discovery. Well. Vanguard Total Stock Market, Vanguard 500 Index Fund. You see this? SPDR S&P 500 ETF Trust, SPDR Series, Fidelity 500 Index Fund, Shares Corp. Oh, look, it's Vanguard again. And you mean to tell me that a company like Vanguard doesn't have any say in what happens with CNN? So this is the extra step you have to take. Don't just look up to see who owns that company. Look to see who owns the people who own the company. And the shareholders, yes, they do have a lot to say. That's important. It is important that you know who the shareholders are, not just who owns the company. Now, there was more that Ro said, so let's go ahead and pedal back on over to him. I'll let him finish his statement there. All right, Ro. There's something else he said, too, that was also incorrect.
The Washington Post isn't run by Jeff Bezos.
That part right there. Bring it back. Here we go.
Washington Post isn't run by Jeff Bezos.
Ro Khanna, the Washington Post isn't run by Jeff Bezos? Yes, it is. What are you talking about? What? Somebody, wait a minute. No. I'll let him finish and I'll chime back.
We need to make sure that Twitter isn't run by the corporate owner, but has independent governance boards and principles.
Congressman Ro Khanna, thank you.
Did they have the same concern? Did they have the same concern about who owned Twitter when the previous billionaire owned Twitter? Did they? And here's Ro Khanna telling you that Jeff Bezos doesn't own the Washington Post. And the host doesn't even correct him. Dude, he didn't even correct him. Not once. Maybe I don't expect him to correct him on the CNN ownership part because he's working right there on CNN. But you could have at least corrected him on the Washington Post part. You see how this is so, you see why the American people are so propagandized? If you watch this and only this, and you're not watching any independent media, you see how easy it is to just believe what they say? That's why you got to do your own research. That's exactly why. Saul says, so happy Whoopi Goldberg is leaving Twitter. I heard she made that announcement. She'll probably just have a sock account, you know. You can always still have a sock account, and that way you still know what's going on Twitter, but people don't know it's Whoopi. JB says they do have corporate owners, but they choose their anchors and producers because they believe the corporate talking points. Ay, ay, ay. Thank you for the super sticker, Debs Mo. See the change. Hey, Sabby, any word on when Ro Khanna will be back on your show to be interviewed? I don't think he will come back. I don't think he will come back. I haven't reached back out, but I don't think he would come back. I don't think so.